Hey everyone, it's Affy, and today I am here to do my February, I can never remember what month it is, my February wrap up. So in February I reread a whole bunch of favorites of mine. It was the month of love and I just wanted comfort reads. So basically everything here is a reread for me. I don't think I had any new books at all. Yeah. So pretty much everything was a reread for me in February. Not going to talk too much. I'm just going to hop in because like I said, these are all rereads and I've probably done a video for all of them at some point. But I will go ahead and start with the one book that I annotated, which was Lord of Scoundrels. And I really I really went in on it with this one. I had a jolly good time. This was my first time annotating a book and it was a lot of fun. It took me longer to read the book because I was annotating it. So usually it takes me like 2 days to finish a book. It took me 4 to 5 days to finish this, and that in and of itself was a bit annoying. But at the end of the day, it was definitely very fun going through the annotating process and just like thinking through the quotes and the aspects of the story and just kind of being like, I really like that. Let me mark it off. That in and of itself was fun. It kind of made me even more absorbed in the book than I usually would be. So I really enjoyed that aspect of annotating the book, but it did take me longer to read and I wasn't too happy about that. Dane is the king of assholes. He is the mighty king of the assholedom, and he is just not a very good person. So Jessica's brother has this thing about following Dane around like a sad little puppy. Like he just wants to be Dane. He feels like Dane is the coolest person ever. And Dane is getting him into a lot of trouble. And so his sister Jessica shows up and she's like, you need to stay away from this Dane guy. He's a whole lot of mess and you are putting yourself into debt. Like, he's just not good for you. And of course her brother doesn't want to listen. But she and Dane meet and he immediately kind of has a thing for her, and he really is trying not to because he does not want to feel for anyone. He feels like, he's the king of man, and he's not that person that falls for a woman. He's a scoundrel. He's a capital SCOUNDREL scoundrel. And he doesn't believe that he's the kind of man that, romance and all of that is just not for him. But he's got a thing for Jessica really hard, and he struggles. This man struggles. He's constantly speaking to her in Italian. And when he speaks to her in Italian, he'll say all these like sweet, like romantic things to her. He kind of had emotions beat out of him as a boy. He was like bullied a lot in school. His father was just treated him horribly, and so he doesn't know how to be caring. He doesn't know how to be loving. And Jessica kind of comes into his life like a whirlwind, and this ends up being a marriage of convenience. And Jessica's good for him. She's really good for him. But she does put him through his paces. Like, he needs a strong woman. The kind of man that he needs a strong woman, and she is definitely a very strong woman. This book was very funny. I don't remember it being so funny. Like, I was cracking up, especially like the first half of the book. Once they get married, it's not as funny, but up until their marriage, it just had me cracking up nonstop. Loretta Chase's writing is amazing. So I really had fun with this one, and it was a good reread. I enjoyed myself thoroughly. Another book that I reread in February was Twice Tempted by a Rogue. This is by Tessa Dare. This is the second book in the Stud Club series, and this is actually my second time rereading this book. I really, really love this book. This is about Reese and Meredith, who goes by Mary. And Reese basically comes back from war. He's been at war for like the last 10 years. Like he's a soldier. That's what he does. That's who he is. And so he returns home after war. It's been almost a decade. And he sees Meredith. And Meredith and Reese used to know each other, but he doesn't recognize her because she was a young girl when he left for the military. And her father had actually worked for his father. His father was the steward of the land. And I believe he wasn't like an earl or a viscount. I think he was something even lower than that. But he is technically the lord of this town. And so her father worked for his father. And when she was a little girl, she had this huge crush on him. And now she's grown. He comes back to town, and he all of a sudden is interested in her. He's like, oh my God, who is that woman? I want her. Who is she? Like, I have to have her. And he basically tells her within like 24 hours of seeing her that he's going to marry her. And he's so adamant and so sure that he's going to marry her. He's like, it's fate. We're going to be married. It's going to happen. You can't prevent it from happening. Like, no matter what you do, we're going to end up together. You're going to be my wife. And Meredith, who is a widow and owns a like a pub / bar in town, she doesn't want to marry because she owns this bar, and if she marries, it'll go to her husband. Plus, she feels like if she marries, that person will want her to quit her job, and she loves working at the pub that she owns. Actually, it's an inn. Yeah, it's an inn. And so she doesn't want to quit her job. She doesn't want to give all her money to a husband. And so she's just like, absolutely not. I mean, she still has feelings for him, but she knows what she wants, and she wants to keep what she has. And so Reese is really, really trying to convince her, and she's really like, nope, not gonna happen. Stop it. Like, you're not getting what you want. And it's just a fight of wills to see who's gonna give in sooner, who's gonna give in. But this book I love this book. I don't know what it is about this book, but this whole entire story just makes me so happy. The townspeople are interesting. They really don't like him because he ran away, taking away all of the business and all of the jobs with him. His father had been a horrible lord and treated people awfully. And when he passed away, there were literally no jobs in town anymore. And so a lot of people left. And so the people that are still there, they don't like Reese, and they make it really, really hard for him. But yeah, I love this book. I don't hear people talk about it, and I wish more people would read this series. It's super cute. But yeah, I really loved rereading this for the second time. I'll probably reread it again next year. I just really love this book. So another book that I reread was Jennifer Ashley's Lady Isabellas' Scandalous Marriage. And this book is about Isabella and Mac. And Mac and Isabella, they got married on the day that she came out, basically. Her coming out ball. He dares her to dance with him. And he's a Mackenzie, and the Mackenzies are considered the scandalous family. And so everybody's like, oh, will she do it? Will she dare? And she does. And he convinces her to go out onto the balcony with him. And he asks her to marry him that very same night. And they elope and they go and get married. And so she literally comes out and gets married the same day. Her father disowns her. He's just so upset that she did this. Things are okay for about 3 good years. You know, they're married until Mac drank a lot and he had a lot of issues. And they go through something and he's not there for her. And so she leaves him and she's basically like, you know, you need to get your life together. You need to get your shit together. And I can't be around you when you're like this. And so she packs up her shit and she goes. And Mac is miserable, but he starts to pull himself together. And after 3 years of them not speaking to one another, she comes to his house one day and she has found that somebody is basically forging his artwork. Mac is an artist, and Mac is one of those people, he doesn't really care about his artwork, so he's like, I don't care, if somebody wants to forge my artwork, that's fine with me. But she's like, no, you should take this seriously. And he takes that opportunity, he takes that chance of her showing up, and he's like, you know, I realized that I was horrible before, but I've put a lot of work into myself the last 3 years, and I'm going to prove to you that, you know, I'm worth being with again. And so he really does start to try his hardest to get her back. And this is a really sweet story. There's some intrigue. I really enjoyed this story the first time I read it. Mac he's funny and just, he's a cute guy. I like Mac. He's got an artist's heart. I guess I'll put it that way. But they have a good thing going between the two of them, and you know, they just need time to kind of work through their issues. All right, well, the next book is one that I pretty much didn't shut up about all last year, so shouldn't be a surprise, but I had been itching to reread this, A Scoundrel of Her Own by Stacey Reed. Yeah, this was just as amazing as the first time I read it. Probably even more so the second time around. I just love this couple and I love their story. We've got Devlin and Ophelia, and Devlin and Ophelia meet when they are children. He pulls her out of the river after she's in a carriage accident, and he finds a cabin where the two of them stay, and he takes care of her. He feeds her, he goes out and catches rabbits and makes them food, and they just spend like a week together out in the forest trying to survive until they're found finally by a gameskeeper and taken home. And he never forgets her. He pretty much tells her as they're being parted that he'll never forget her and to wait for him. You know, he's the son of a farmer, and she's the daughter of a peer, and so there's an obvious class difference here. He decides that he's going to do whatever it takes to become a man who is worthy of her, and he works as hard as he can. He makes all this money, and when he's grown, he finds her again. She's a singer now. She disguises herself. I think she calls herself Lady Songbird or something like that. But he gets her to sing for him, and she finally realizes who he is, that he's the little boy that she knew as a child, the little boy that saved her, and they kind of start to rekindle something, and it gets pretty serious. And the class difference is very much a thing in this book. Like, they really shove it down your throat that this is a forbidden romance. And but she doesn't care. She does not care. She falls for this man. She falls hard. He had always been in love with her. Like, he would tell everyone he knew growing up his entire life about this girl, Fifi, that he knew as a child. And she almost becomes this mythical creature because he talked about her so much. And he's wanted for so long to be with her, that when it finally happens, it's almost like this man doesn't know what to do with himself. I love this book. I love Devlin. I love Ophelia. I love them together as a couple. They're just so sweet on each other. And I finished this book and was like, yes, this is what I needed. It's just everything I want in a book. It's so perfect for me, and I loved it. So, yeah. So the next book that I read was The Lady Gets Lucky by Joanna Shupe. And this book, I'm just obsessed with Kit and Alice. They are the cutest things ever. Kit basically is a rake. Kit is a rake, and Alice decides she's going to ask him for lessons in seduction. She lives with her mother, who is a turd. Like, her mother is just so, she's one of those women who will tell her daughter that she looks fat and, like, call her names, and, you know, she's just obnoxiously strict with her. Her mother just isn't a good person, and she wants to get married and get out from under her mother's thumb. And she's shy, so she thinks if she can learn ways to get a guy, or to at least catch a guy's interest, then, you know, it'll be a step closer to her getting out from under her mom's thumb. And so she goes to Kit and asks him, can you basically give me lessons in seduction and seducing someone so that I can finally meet a man, get married, and get the hell out of my house? And Kit is like, huh? Like, what? No, I'm good on that. Like, I'm good on that. But she's able to convince him. He's opening a supper club, and she knows all the recipes that he wants because she had a cook that worked in her family who he's obsessed with, and he wants this cook to work for him, but the cook refuses. And so she knows all this cook's recipes because she lived with the guy and she loves to cook herself. And so she's like, all right, well, if you want those recipes, you'll give me these lessons that I want. And so he's like, fine. And they fall in love, and it is glorious. I love this story. Just the story in and of itself is so good. And then you have Kit and Alice, and their love for one another is just so good. So good. Kit is wonderful. He's one of my favorite heroes of all time. I just love him. And Alice is a sweetheart. You know, she really does have this passion for cooking, and you know, he kind of susses that out in her, and he gives her a chance to kind of live out her dreams, and they're just so sweet. I just love these two so much. I love them so much. So this is a great read. If you haven't read this series yet, it's a really good series. But I feel like this book just, like, knocks it out of the park, at least for me. So, yeah. All right. Next book that I have here is Lisa Kleypas. This is Married by Morning. And this is Leo Hathaway's book, and Leo Hathaway is, I think, a hilarious dude. He's a rake, and he went through some shit in life and has finally come out on the other side. He's finally kind of gotten himself together, and his sisters have a governess named Kat, who he doesn't seem to like very much, and she doesn't seem to like him very much. And one day, while in the middle of arguing with one another, he decides to kiss her because he just wonders what it's like to kiss her. He's like, she's always so mad. I always wonder what it's like. What would she be like if she finally took her hair down and, like, you know, let herself be free? And he's just wondering all these things about her. And so one day he kisses her out in the garden, and it ignites some passion. They go from enemies to being lovers, and he becomes so enthralled at the idea of, like, being able to be with her and marry her, but she's got all these things in her past that are, like, holding her back. And he's just like, please marry me. Please, please, please marry me. And this woman's, like, holding back. She's like, no, I have to think about it. I'm not sure. Yada, yada, yada. And he's just like, what do I have to do to get you to marry me? He falls for her so hard. And I just love it. But these two are sweet together, and I like that Kat didn't just give him a 100% yes. Like, she kind of makes him work for it a little bit, which he deserves, because he was such a bitch to her sometimes in the other books. Like, he was always messing with her, and I was like, this is his payback for all the mean shit that he would say to her over the years. Like, this is him getting his comeuppance. I love these two. So yeah, this was another one that I loved just as much as the first time I read it. All right, the next book I have up is by Beverly Jenkins. This is Rebel. This was the first Beverly Jenkins book that I ever read, and I loved it. It's one of the Levesque brothers. This is Drake Levesque. And Valinda has moved to New Orleans from, I believe, Chicago, to be a teacher. And this is after slavery has ended. So she basically goes from Chicago to New Orleans to be a teacher. She's got a teaching degree, and she wants to help teach the newly freed slaves. And so she goes to the South, and unfortunately the school that she starts is burned down, and the place that she's living at, the woman there kicks her out. And so she doesn't have anywhere to go. She doesn't have a job, but she had bumped into Drake. He had basically saved her from a situation, and he gave her his information of where to find him. So when she does get kicked out, she's like, I don't have anywhere else to go or anyone else that I know. I only have the information that this one guy gave me. And so she goes to his family's hotel, and she meets him and is basically like, I need work, I need help, can you help me? Like, I've got nothing. I'm basically here and I've got nothing. I don't have a job anymore. Like, I don't know what to do. She has a fiance, but obviously things between her and Drake get a little heated. You know, they start to have some feels for one another. And I really like this book. Like I said, it was my first Beverly Jenkins book that I ever read. I love the cover on this. This is like the most beautiful cover ever. Like, I just love the cover. But it's just a beautiful story. And Drake is such a sweet man. Like, he's just, oh my gosh, this man built her a school. Like, how much greater can you get? How much more love can you have in a man? A man builds you a school, you know that man loves you. So yeah, I love Drake. Drake is awesome. But this is such a good book, and I still love it as the first book of hers that I read. I think it's a solid one. So yeah. All right. The next one is, I feel like at this point, like a classic. This is Lorraine Heath. I love Lorraine Heath, but this is the Earl Takes All. And this one is about the twins. So this one is about the twins. Not going to go too much into it, but basically we have twin brothers. One of them dies. The other one pretends to be him in the hopes that his brother's wife won't lose her baby. And in the process, he falls in love with her. She falls in love with him. She eventually finds out that it's not her husband and that it's his twin brother. And things go a little sideways. By that point, they already have so much love that has grown between the two of them. And this is just amazing. This book is so romantic. Like, I don't know what to point my finger at to tell you, like, what's so romantic about it, but it just is. This book is just amazing. I can't speak like highly enough about this book. It's the romance and the caring and just the little moments between the two of them. It's just so sweet. He really is trying to pretend to be his brother whilst at the same time not losing himself into being this whole other person, and it's rough for him. He has a hard time with it because he was kind of the wild brother. He was the wild child of the two of them. His brother was the older one, and he was more reserved. He was more responsible, and so he's trying to pretend to be his older, more responsible brother, and he's never been that way. And, you know, on top of that, he has to pretend for his brother's wife. And so he's having a hard time with it. That love that the two of them start to feel for one another is, it's strong, and it just gets stronger. And he had always had a thing for her, ever since, you know, he had first met her. He had a thing for her, but she ended up with his brother, and so in some ways it's like he's finally got his chance. But I love this book. This was the first book I ever gave 6 stars to, and Lorraine Heath is just amazing, so I really, really love this one. All right. We've got another Lisa Kleypas here. Again, The Magic, which should not be a surprise. I'm obsessed. I am obsessed. This book is so good. We've got Elaine and her tablecloth. I still laugh at the tablecloth joke. But this book is, I mean, I feel like everybody's read this book. If you haven't, you should by now. Like, yeah, this book is a classic at this point. Aline and McKenna are just, they're just everything. Like, she is so in love with this boy, and she does probably the hardest thing she's ever had to do when she, you know, kicks him to the curb, just for his own sake. Of course, he doesn't know it, but he comes back and he's upset with her because he feels like she did him dirty, and he is on this path for revenge, but at the same time, like, he can't stay away from her because he is absolutely madly in love with her. Like, he's trying to have revenge on her, but he kind of can't because he's like so in love with her. He just wants to be around her and spend time with her. It's like he has to remind himself that he's out to get revenge on her. Just funny to me. It's super cute. But yeah, these two are amazing, and I remember wanting to give this book 6 stars, but I gave it 5 because of something that Aline does towards the end of the book. She kind of ticked me off a little bit towards the end of the book, and I was like, if only she hadn't done that, I would have given this book 6 stars. But I still love it so much that it's just a minor hiccup to me in the story. I feel like for them, their childhood days, their youth, and just how much they like loved each other back then, it never went away. And they don't see each other for like 12 years and neither of them has been able to move on. And I just think that's like a testament to how much they really loved one another, and it's just so sweet. I freaking love this book. This book is so good. So yeah, again, the magic. Again, if you haven't read this book, like, what are you doing? Why have you not read this book? Get it over with already. All right, so the last book I got around to in February was by Kerrigan Byrne. This is The Hunter, and this was my favorite book in the Victorian Rebels series. The beginning of this book makes my stomach hurt. Like, it's so sad. Like, my stomach was doing flip-flops. I'd read the book before, and I still, the second time around, was just like ripping my hair out. Like, this poor boy and his poor mother, and like, his life is just so hard from start till he meets her. Like, his life is just so hard. And you kind of feel for him. Like, he doesn't know what love is. He doesn't understand what love is. So Christopher is an assassin, and he's basically sent to kill Millie. She is a single mother. She's an actress. And somebody's out to kill her. Somebody wants her dead. But Christopher finds that he can't do it. She's just this sparkling personality. She's beautiful. She makes everyone around her just... She's that person that walks into the room and, like, shifts the entire, like, feel in the room. She's that person. And he's just taken by her, and he can't do it. Like, he can't kill her. And it starts to irritate him because he's like, I'm good at my job. Like, I do what I do and I'm good at it. I've never had this happen before. And so finally he decides he's not able to do it. And so he confronts her and is basically like, somebody wants you dead. I was supposed to be the one to do it, but I can't. I don't know why, but you've got me twisted up in your little fingers and I can't do it. So I'm going to protect you instead. And that's what he does. And, she's able to kind of open the heart of this cold, dead-hearted man. Christopher Argent he's a hard stone cold. Like, he never smiles, he never laughs. He's just, you would think he's dead inside. In fact, he probably is dead inside. Like, he's gone through the worst things in humanity. And like I said, she really does help him open up. I wouldn't say he becomes a different person, but I think that she kind of cracks the shell around his heart. He's not a person that feels bad about killing people. And that doesn't change by the end of the book. He's still like, killing people is what I do and I don't care. But he cares about Millie, and that's a new thing for him. He's never cared about anyone before. There are some funny scenes in this book. Another one that I really love, and this entire month was just full of books that I loved. There were 2 books that I didn't end up getting to. One was an Another Tessa Dare, A Night to Surrender. I can't remember what the other book was, though. There was another last book that I was supposed to read. But I'm happy with the ones that I got through. And, yeah, it was such a good month. It was nice to just read things that I know I already love. Let me know if you have read any of these books and how you felt about them. Please be nice in the comments. These are some of my favorite books of all time, so don't rip them to shreds. But if you have made it to the end of this video, please leave me a sheep emoji. I don't know why I keep doing animals. Let's do a sheep. We'll do a sheep for today. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good week. All right. Thank you. Bye.